All right, Jordan, time to turn the page, time to look forward to this coming Saturday as we travel up to Pitt to play the Pittsburgh Panthers in their stadium. 12 noon kickoff, unfortunately. I hate noon games, but 12 noon kickoff. Pitt's coming in. They're a little banged up. Quarterback's a little banged up for them. I think they got a receiver banged up as well. Don't really know the status of all of their guys, whether they're going to play, whether they're not going to play. I think their quarterback had head injury, concussion, something like that. So not really sure if he's going to, clear the concussion protocol and be able to play or not. But obviously, that will be a big deal in deciding this game. That'll be a big deal for the Pitt offense. It kind of, starts with him, Eli Holston. You got their leading rusher, Reed, 670 yards, and then their leading receiver, Mumpfield, 560 yards. So looking at this Pitt team and kind of looking at their offensive side of the ball and some of the injuries they may have, how do you see their offense matching up against this Clemson defense? I know this Clemson defense switched to the 4-3 this past week. I don't think, like you were saying earlier, I don't think Clemson's going to go with that particular defense just because of what Pitt likes to do. Now, thoughts on what the Clemson defense could do, and you can give me your thoughts on this, but, heard a couple people talking and, Sammy Brown, even Dabo said that Sammy Brown has earned his way onto the field. He needs to be on the field. So could you see a Wade Woodaz kind of be flexed out as that, nickel spot, safety spot, flex him out somewhere else, allow Sammy Brown to come in without playing that traditional 4-3? You can give me your thoughts on that and your thoughts on this Pittsburgh offense and how they're going to go about attacking this Clemson defense. Are they going to focus on the run game? Are they going to keep going through the air like they like to do? How do you see them trying to pick apart this Clemson defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it very much depends on what quarterback we see on Saturday. Obviously, you mentioned Eli Holstein, with the apparent head injury. He's had a couple of those this year. Maybe something to monitor there. But that this offense, that they have run this year under Cade Bell, offensive coordinator, they like to run a lot of tempo. They like to spread you out. A lot of 4 or 5 wide sometimes, and they involve their quarterback in the run game a lot. So you talked about kind of Clemson's personnel and what they might do this week. It very much depends. I'm not really sure how much you see, more than 2 linebackers on the field, just because they're. I mean, if you see their backup Nate Yarnell, he's played when he's played this year. He hasn't been overly impressive. So I don't know. Maybe you do some things a little bit differently there. Maybe we try to get some more pass rush and heat him up a little bit. But if Eli Holstein goes, they're going to run a lot of tempo. They're going to spread you out, and they're going to get the ball out quick. That's one thing that they have done a lot this year. A lot of quick passes, get the ball out to their receivers. Kanata Mumpfield, you mentioned, obviously he got hurt as well this past week. So whether or not he's good to go for Saturday will definitely play a huge role as well. But I think the offense it starts with Eli Holstein. They use he's been slinging it all around the field this year, but they also involve him a lot in the run game. And then their running back Desmond Reed, he is kind of a do-it-all guy for them. Leads the team in rushing. He's second on the team in receiving yards. Really just he is a tough guy to get a hold of. He is like probably every bit 5'8", 175 pounds.
Yeah,
but he can fly. And so they like to get him the ball out in space, and they do a lot of things to get him the football because he is probably their best playmaker just on that offense. So you might want to you probably will see a lot more nickel and dime packages. You want to get guys with speed out there because this Pitt offense is fast, and they run and they go fast from a tempo perspective. So if they're all if that offense is healthy, that's what you're going to see a lot. So it's going to be on this Clemson. It's going to put a lot of stress on the Clemson defensive backs. They're going to have to come in and make tackles because they're also when they spread you out, they do it to run on you too. Pitt is not a bad rushing offense. That's something that they had struggled with in previous years, but they are much improved from that aspect this year. I think they're running for about 150 something yards per game. So massive improvement from where they were last year. This Pitt offense, when they're clicking, they are really effective and tough to stop. So I from a personnel standpoint, I wonder, what Wes Goodwin has in mind as far as personnel groupings and situationally when they decide to get Sammy on the field, and maybe who do you take out, who do you move around, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting to see what kind of scheme this Wes Goodwin coach defense comes out with this week. I'm sure they're going to have a plan, but to your point, this is not a bad rushing team, averaging just a tick over 150 yards per game, 270 plus yards passing per game. So they're definitely a team that can move the ball. They're definitely an offense that can, get the job done. It's going to be interesting to see how much, 47 gets on the field, how much Sammy Brown is going to be able to get on the field with how Pitt plays. And like you mentioned at the top, the biggest question mark for that is going to be the health of their quarterback and the health of their wide receivers, right? How healthy are they coming into this game? Obviously got banged up, but this is still a very good team. They're coming in 7-2, just like the Clemson Tigers, although they dropped their last two games to SMU and Virginia. This is still a very good team, and this is a team that can absolutely beat Clemson, a team that is going to present some challenges, especially on the defensive side of the ball, as we kind of turn the page and talk about how Clemson's offense is going to match up against this Pitt defense. This is a defense that's going to try to heat Cade up, right? They're going to come at him a bunch of different ways. They're going to bring pressure. How does Garrett Riley scheme this up? How do you think this Clemson offense is going to match up with what this Pitt defense likes to do defensively?
Yeah. This Pitt defense is a characteristic of every single Pitt defense you've seen basically under Pat Narduzzi. Tight coverage, physical man coverage on the outside, and they are going to pressure you to death. You're not going to know where it's coming from. They are very, very aggressive as far as what, their approach defensively. So, it's going to take a lot of communication. You're going to have to pick it up. When you play that style of play, of course, that means that the big play can happen from time to time.
Right.
That's something they're willing to live with. They want you to they want to get you behind the chains. They want to get tackles for loss. They want to get sacks. That's why Pitt has been that's Pat Narduzzi's MO. That's his fingerprints all over that defense. I think from a Clemson standpoint, you've seen some teams that have played you aggressive. I do think it's another week where you're going to have to see a big game from your receivers and they're going to have to be able to get off press. They're going to have to be able to get separation because if Pitt can play tight coverage and not have to dedicate too many resources to stopping the run, you might be in for a long day offensively, kind of like you were. It seemed like you were going to be the first half last week. They are physical. They will grab. They are. Pitt's corners I think they are a tad bit more physical. They're probably not quite as big everywhere as Virginia Tech's defensive backs were, but they are every bit as physical, if not more. Right. They will put hands on you, and they will knock you off your route. They will work you down the sideline, and they'll grab it and make the officials call it. That is how you play. They are very, very physical. So, it's going to be a big challenge for this, for this offense, I think, because we have not seen them handle it very well so far this year when teams have kind of manned you up, and not giving you a lot of free releases. So, that's going to be a thing to watch on Saturday. I think you got to get the run game going. I mean, so far, this season there hasn't been too many games where the run game was non-existent. So give the ball to Phil Maffa. Kind of soften that defense a little bit. If you can do that, I think that'll open up a lot of things in the passing game. And again, it's kind of a simple formula, but when you play a defense that's as aggressive as Pitt is, you got to do things to make them a little bit more tentative, because if you give them confidence, they're going to keep sending them at you. And sometimes it's kind of hard to, once they get that boulder rolling downhill, it's kind of hard to stop. So
and that truly is the key, is the momentum. Especially, you mentioned how aggressive Pitt's defense is. You got to make them pay for that aggression, right? If you're Cade Klubnik, you got to know your hot routes, right? Wherever they're bringing that blitz from, they're going to disguise it, right? You're not going to know pre-snap who's coming and who's not coming. That's going to be post-snap. Cade Klubnik's going to have to be a very good decision maker in this game, and he's going to have to make Pitt pay for that aggression that they're going to show. It's definitely, obviously his wide receivers got to help him out, right? Because if they're not open, there's nothing he can do, right? He can't throw into coverage and throw picks and stuff like that. But luckily for us, we got a guy named Phil Maffa. And he's been able to get off pretty much every single game, whatever he wanted to. So that'll go a long way in loosening up this defense and creating some explosive plays in the passing game, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's going to be a big week for the receivers and tight ends. But of course, the offensive line is, they're going to have to hold up, and Cade is going to have to. He's got to correct some of the mistakes he made this past week, and that's something that he talked about during the week. Is he did some things that he hadn't really done all season, just from some immature throws and decision making. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a challenge. Like I said, we have not seen this offense respond well to defenses that play this kind of this kind of football. Not consistently, at least. Louisville manned you up and made you work for every single yard.
That's right.
Virginia Tech, that was the MO of Virginia Tech, and they had a lot of success. And so, hopefully the second half last week is something that you can carry over into this week, and you get some things going early, because I'm not necessarily convinced that this Pitt offense is going to be as anemic as Virginia Tech's was, because they can throw the ball, and they do have better receivers, so that's going to be tough. And I forgot to mention, they have a couple of really good tight ends. Gavin Bartholomew is a guy that I thought it was one of the best tight ends in the ACC heading into the season. He hasn't quite had the year that we all thought he would. I think he just caught his first touchdown, this past weekend. But he's still a weapon for them. A really talented football player. So they will get their tight ends involved in the passing game as well. So that adds another dimension, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and this is you mentioned it, but this is the kind of defense they're going to play, the type of defense that has shown to really slow down and make this Clemson offense look bad. Louisville did it. Virginia Tech did it for a half. So we're going to see if there's been any growth on this offensive side of the ball with the ability to execute when a team is trying to do the things that Pitt's going to do. I think it'll be interesting. A little bit worried about this Pitt defense against this Clemson offense. Not super excited about it. Definitely think that they can give us a lot of problems. Defense is going to have to step up and have a really good game because I think there's going to be times in this game where offense is going to struggle because of what Pitt does. But hopefully, like you said, that second half of last week shows that they have the ability to push through that adversity and figure some things out when things aren't necessarily going your way on the offensive side of the ball. All right, Jordan. Well, keeping with last game, the Virginia Tech game, we got to give an injury report. And this injury report is getting a little lengthy when it comes to banged up guys for the Clemson Tigers, which is no secret. Every single college football team in America right now is dealing with a ton of banged up guys, a ton of injured guys. Almost no one on the team is 100% at this point of the college football season. We're into November, and you just got to gut it out until the end. But guys that we know are out for sure. Tyler Brown doesn't sound like he's going to play at least for the rest of the regular season. Dabo was quoted this week. Sounds like they really want to try to hold him and redshirt him, get this season back for him, and then play him for any postseason games that Clemson may have, whether that be just a bowl game or the ACC championship game or whatever the case may be. Sounds like he'll be a full go for that kind of stuff, but sounds like they're going to try to hold him as long as, everything goes according to plan for the rest of the regular season. Shelton Lewis obviously out. DeMonte Capehart out. He is on a week-to-week status right now, so definitely won't be playing this Saturday. Colin Sadler, same thing, out for the season. Tristan Lay, Marcus Tate, day-to-day. Sounds like they're practicing. Sounds like they're working towards getting better. Are they going to 100% play? I don't know. They're day-to-day at this point. The one that we do know is for sure returning is a big one. Peter Woods will be playing this Saturday. Dabo confirmed that we have him back. He will be a full go for Saturday. So, Jordan, thoughts on the current injury report? It's getting longer and longer, it seems, every week with guys that are just banged up and trying to work back. What are your thoughts heading into the Pitt game?
Yeah, I mean, same old, not necessarily same old. I mean, obviously, the injuries to Marcus Tate and Tristan Lay are significant. Hopefully, you get them back this Saturday, and they're working their way back because that's your left side of the line right there. I'm very pleased with how Elijah Thurman and Harris Sewell filled in on Saturday, but ideally, of course, you want your best guys in, the guys you trust, and the starting five, having that cohesion together. You want that. But if they can't go, they at least showed, the guys that you put in at least showed they can hold up. So we'll see how they look on Saturday and what their outlook is. But obviously you mentioned Peter Woods coming back. That's massive, for the defensive line, of course, just getting more pass rush. And of course, in run defense, he's a very, very massive deal. So I was really pleased on Saturday with the defensive tackles. Thought they played really well. The guys that filled in, Peyton Page, Trey Williams, Stephylan Green was great. So you'll likely see more of those guys again. So as far as injuries go, we've talked about the Shelton Lewises and the Tyler Browns and not having Colin Sadler. That's a big deal, but your depth is being tested a little bit. But right now, I think you're still in a place where you can be functional, but you don't want to have too many more guys go down before you can get some of those guys back.
Yeah, absolutely, especially along that offensive line. It's bad enough you got your entire left side of your offensive line pretty much missing, and as good as you mentioned Harris Sewell and Elijah Thurman did last week, you really do want your main guys back, right? So hopefully those guys are feeling a little bit better, and maybe their snaps will be limited this week, but hopefully they can go at least for a portion of the game and kind of work their way back in slowly. We'll see, but can't state how big it is to have Peter Woods back. I mean, we see the effect that he has on the defense more so when he immediately exits the game. It's really noticeable when number 11's not out there on the edge of this Clemson defense. So it'll be good to have him back, not only on defense, but for the jumbo package. It'll be good to have him back on special teams. He's just a huge asset to this Clemson team, and he does a lot of different things. So really good news from Dabo that we got Peter Woods back. Can't overstate how significant that will be for this Clemson defense and just overall the team. Check out Clemson Live on your favorite audio platform, streaming on everywhere you get your podcasts. Search Clemson Live. Give us a rate, review, subscribe over there. All our long-form content is over there. Check it out, guys. Clemson Live on all your favorite streaming platforms where you get your podcast.